Hello and welcome to another update for the Project Ultradeep project that I'm working on. I'm Westing Tyler, and this is basically an attempt to recreate Waterdeep, the city of Waterdeep, in the Forgotten Realms, in on the planet of Toril, in the Forgotten Realms, in the material plane, and Dungeons and Dragons. And it's not just about the city of Waterdeep. But it's also about the massive dungeon complex underneath Waterdeep. Basically, one of the epic kind of dungeons, like one of the biggest, the coolest dungeon ever. Basically, it's the coolest dungeon, and it's really deep and it's really big. And I first became interested in this whole thing when my brother bought Eye of the Beholder for Super Nintendo back in like 1993. And ever since exploring the sewers of Waterdeep, and then you go deeper into the Dwarven and the Drow levels, and then even deeper into, don't want to spoil nothing, but I've been fascinated with these kind of dungeons, and I like Zelda and stuff like that too. So dungeons, I just love dungeons. And as a game designer myself, I'm working on my own game. Um, it's been really useful for me to kind of take the masterpieces of the craft and kind of look at them and study them and kind of see um, what makes them great. And so we're talking about Project Ultra Deep, which is one of my side projects to help me understand dungeons for my own projects. Knott's game, well, that's just the name. That's just the little NOTSS game. Night of the, I keep my title pretty close to the vest right now. But it's a spooky Halloween time loop game, and there's a big, massive underground, and I've always loved the idea that of the underground being as exciting as what's above ground, and useful, like for fast travel and stuff like that. So the Waterdeep sewers, the Waterdeep uh, dungeon underneath, Undermountain. It is called Undermountain. Oh my God, my brain is getting. Um, it's Undermountain is the perfect candidate for all this. So let's take a look at the progress so far. First, I'm going to show you kind of what I've been doing, okay? And the first thing is, all right, so I've been going through like a crazy person and going through all of the PDFs that I have from that I've gotten from like DM's Guild or whatever, like that I bought, going through because it's better than the books because I can search them. I can Control F and find things pretty easy. And I've been going through the ruins of Undermountain. I've been going through um, Expedition to Undermountain, Waterdeep Dragon Heist, um, Dungeons of the Mad Mage being the spine of the whole project, because Dungeons of the Mad Mage has maps from all the way from the first level of the dungeon all the way down to the bottom of the dungeon, whereas Ruins of Undermountain 1 and 2 has like 1, 2, and 3 north and south, and then Ruins of Undermountain 2 has like Trobriand's Graveyard over here, and Muriel's Gauntlet over here, and the Lost Level over here, and so it's not the spine, that I need. But Dungeons of the Mad Mage, even though the levels are smaller and more compact, and more dense in terms of what they have in them, serves as a perfect way. So I'm building kind of around that, and I'm going through right now and getting ready to model all the set pieces, because we have. I basically took. Where's my blend file? Is it right here? Yeah, here it is. Um, I cut out little pictures of all of the from all the maps of all of the map keys of all of the stuff. Pit with fire, bin, torch, sarcophagus, and this is just to get started. Right now the geometry of the dungeon is very simplistic. It's very almost like 1998, almost like Thief Gold kind of a vibe. But that's just to help get the whole thing made, and then we can go back and iterate and make it better. And so for now, I'm starting off in terms of set pieces. Ideally, every keyed room would be custom sculpted, and that may be a viable thing to do at some point, but just not right at this step. But we can get all of these set pieces that are there, and this is the kind of thing that for whatever reason my brain is really good at, like making a list of things to model and going through and modeling them, like bzz, 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 bzz. Um, and so I'm doing that right now. I have all these right here, and this is just a couple little attempts to kind of figure out. There's some rubble that's really really rough right now, But here's the actual project for the set pieces, which is just a bunch of nulls. It's about 100. They're all named here. They're all ready to go, and I have an atlas prepared. And I'm going to go through and model them all. And then once I'll bring those into Unity, make them into prefabs, and actually put them around so that I only have to have one door, that opens and closes, and then I just duplicate that everywhere, and you can change what key it uses, stuff like that. To give you an idea, so this is the current state of the set pieces for this project, but to give you an idea of what it's going to be like, if I go to my Ultima project, yeah, I'll save that. One of my other side projects is called The Age of Singularity, which is my attempt to recreate the world of Ultima 6 in Unity. It's another thing like that. I do things like this. Again, it's all helping me learn this process for game development, and these are my favorite games of all time. Ultima 6, The False Prophet is probably my favorite game of all time, because it's so open and it's so free, and it's like, it's like it did amazing things that games still haven't done and don't do, and it drives me nuts. And I'm gonna have to make a whole video about that eventually. Same thing with GoldenEye for first-person shooters. But so here are my Ultima 6 assets. I which went through. I took the tile asset atlas, little tile of the pixel art, and I went through and I modeled and textured them all. I created my own custom atlas that I hand painted in Paint Shop Pro, and there's that. And the cool thing about this is that in Blender you can hit Shift tilde and walk around in first person. There's mundane, there's Minix. That's the word that's what the pronunciation that I Googled, but I'm not sure. There's Exodus, and you got other statues and stuff that if you've played Ultima 6, might be familiar with some of these. But it's really not too difficult to do these things, which is really exciting. This is just like booleaning a bunch of shapes together in the kind of the shape you want, then using dynamic topology mode, DynTopo, to sculpt them out. So that's really cool. But you can go through, and this is the kind of style and the kind of quality level that we'll have in Project Ultradeep. Um, these are all props, what I would call props. A prop is something that you can pick up and interact with, but you can also carry it in your backpack. Um, and so we're not going to have props in Project Ultradeep quite at this stage. Right now I'm working on the higher levels of stuff, which is like the landform geometry, the structures, which is like the rooms and stuff. And then below that you have set pieces, which are parts of the environment that you can interact with, but you can't take them with you, like doors, trap doors, covered pits, traps, stuff like that. So we're not going to have props and stuff in there at this stage. I'm going slow with this project because I don't want to take on too much and overwhelm myself. Um, but yeah, this is the kind of quality level you go around. You kind of see. Let me fly up a little bit so you can walk around. It's really cool. And it's a really cool opportunity when you have you can 3D model stuff that once was just a pixel art. Because like in Ultima 6, there are these beehive things, and they're like this, but then you can go in and actually get real reference imagery and make them kind of like this, which is pretty cool, while trying to stay true to what it's going to look like. But anyway, enough about Project or Age of Singularity. This just gives you an idea of what it's going to kind of look like, at least at the kind of first stage. I'm very iterative in my process. I don't make one part perfect and then move on. I make everything crappy, and then I make everything slightly less crappy, then everything like slightly less crappy. And it's like an old like Cinema 4D renderer or something for 3D, where just like making every part a little bit better, and then eventually gets better because my brain just jumps around all the time. But this is kind of what we're going for. So let's see, can I get out of this? Let's see, two, yeah, Undermountain level 1, and this is the basic geometry. Let me get this out of the way that I have up and running for Undermountain level 1 right now, and this looks really gaudy and terrible. Because you have these tile textures and there's no good lighting and everything. But I actually have the Unity app, the current state of it. It's up and running, and I'll show you that in just a minute, once I've gone through a couple other kind of things about how we're doing things. So that's level 1 of Undermountain, but I have another blend with all of the other levels going down. The reason I split it into pieces like this for each level is that way it generates the light maps when I import it into Unity a lot quicker. Then I can actually put lighting and stuff in the levels, which I've done now, and you'll see what that looks like in a minute. Again, really really rough lighting, but yeah. And so this is one of my side projects, Project Ultradeep. You can see the title's clear here because I've actually because I've said that name. For my other projects, I like to keep the titles secret because I'm just paranoid about people stealing my titles. But yeah, I have a lot of side projects. You kind of get a feel for. I don't have an ETA on this. I'm just kind of jumping around. And right now, I'm really excited about working on this, and it's exactly the kind of thing that I need to be doing for my main project, Knott's Game, because the underground is seriously neglected in Knott's Game, which is my main game. So I have an overworld, big, massive 7 kilometer by 7 kilometer overworld for my main game, but I haven't messed with the underground a lot. So taking this opportunity, when I finally clicked, I was like, I've always wanted to do something with Undermountain, and with Waterdeep, and I need to design dungeons for my game, and I need to learn how developers do that. Not just game developers, but like storytellers, create dungeons and make them interesting and have the good pacing and the upbeats and the downbeats and everything. And so yeah, Project Ultradeep, boom, the perfect opportunity to do that. Um, Oh, and this is my website, westingtyler.com, which is my name, Westing Tyler. Um, and so here's what I've been doing. I've been using AI to create concept art and textures for some of the stuff. Um, as you can see here, like Midjourney is what I've been using. Like here is the Watch Ghost, as depicted in some of the, I think it's second edition Dungeon or Ruins of Undermountain campaign stuff, but it was kind of just, it's just like, black ink on white, and my brain is very visceral minded. I like to see color and I like to see movement and stuff. So I like to take that stuff and uh, visceralize it to like, here's a male version of the Watch Ghost, which is just really cool because like it's just these things that you've only seen these little drawings, and you kind of get an idea of like what it would look like in 3D when you're actually experiencing. Here's another one. Oh, and this is, and again, I didn't really do this. I typed some words and Midjourney AI made these images. It's so cool. It's like the new thing, like for concepting. This is an attempt at Trobriand's graveyard. I was just kind of getting a feel for this kind of rusty cavern. It's kind of this junkyard with steampunky, but just kind of like just littered with like just millions of like abandoned prototypes, for what eventually became his Scaladar, his masterpiece of of an automaton. And this is a steel shadow. Um, it's kind of like an animated armor, but it's and I didn't invent this, by the way. This is again, these are, I'm taking the monsters from Ruins of Undermountain 1 and 2 and from those campaigns that maybe aren't in the 5th edition Bestiary, and I'm kind of revisceralizing them. I don't know the word, reimagining, kind of make them modern so you can kind of look at it and get a feel like, oh, I get it, And this is it's like a planarian flatworm kind of ghosty thingy spirit that you don't really see a lot on its own because it kind of absorbs into metal and animates metal. But this was generated with Midjourney AI again. It's so cool. I just typed the words. It's a little bit of finessing to get the right prompt. It's called prompt engineering, is what they call it now. But then you can make stuff like this. Um, and it helps me to get a feel for what things should actually look like if you're actually there in Undermountain experiencing this. And this is the Dark Tentacle. There's already some really great art of the Dark Tentacle out there, but I made this one um, using Midjourney. It's a watercolor kind of thing. And then in a lot of other cases, I've just taken the original uh, line art. I don't know what you'd call it, which is black and white, and then I've just kind of dropped it into Paint Shop Pro, added another layer, made that layer darken, and then I just grabbed some colors and kind of blended them at like 60% opacity, kind of smeared them, kind of get the shape, based on the text descriptions in the campaigns. I'm trying to really um, uh, experience Undermountain through the text and like read it and kind of trying to get it right, That's a trapper. They're, like, yeah, it's kind of funny because it actually is the thing. Um, like part of the room, which is kind of like the God, I don't know if I have it in here. Do I have it? That's a wraith ghost, or oh, wraith spider. I'm sorry, wraith spider. Kind of cool. Um, and a lot of these I've just recolored. Gosh, I guess it's not in here, but oh, there it is, the mimic, the greater mimic, which is actually can be a room. It's like if you took an old tree has a lot of rings on it, a mimic that lives a long time can get as big as like a whole chamber, and it gets really cool. And yeah, that's just pretty cool. Because you can see it's kind of like its tongue. This is, yeah, that's so cool. So I've just colored some of these, and a lot of this stuff kind of helps my brain kind of get a feel for this stuff. Similar to, I've done a similar thing for Age of Singularity. Just recently, I redid all of the Ultima 6, um, the Bestiary, and colored them. Redid. I just colored them. Um, so you can just look at them at a glance, and your brain doesn't have to do as much work interpreting it because it's just very natural, very visceral. It's like, oh, there are the shapes, there are the colors, got it. So I colored these. Um, and I really like this method of taking like the older style, the black and white, and giving color. I like that stuff. I think it's cool. Um, yeah, and I've gathered the bestiary, the 5e bestiary. I think it's mostly complete, at least for the core monster manual. Um, and this is for my game. Nuts game has a lot of monsters in it, and so I've taken like Castlevania Symphony of the Night. I've taken Ultima 6. I've taken Dungeons and Dragons in this case. I've taken several others, and I'm kind of like trying to understand what makes a good bestiary, what kind of gives you that variety that you want to experience when you're uh, when you're playing these games as a player, and when you're designing them as a dungeon master, like or a storyteller or a game developer. It's all kind of in the same vein. And so gathering everything up and looking at it, and being like, oh, okay, that's kind of this the shape of this bestiary. Um, that's really cool. And I've made a special, uh, uh, I put special effort into making sure I get all of the ruins of Undermountain, Dungeon of the Mad Mage, um, and Expedition to Undermountain, and God, there are a couple others. But getting all the monsters that are specifically in those, like several Beholderkin and stuff like that, and making sure that I have those in here. And it just helps me learn. Like I like infographics and just having a grid of all the monsters lined up. I'm like, I get it you know. Speaking of which, check this out. Here is the I didn't make these, but I started adding some color to them. But this is another way that I'm kind of learning about the monsters of Undermountain and about how the Dungeons and Dragons bestiary works. Is God, what's the name of the guy? MZ4250 or something on Shapeways. Um, he's been modeling and like creating all of these models, and I just dumped them into a blend file. It's 8 million triangles, which I'm surprised that Blender 3.0 it's getting a lot better performance wise in terms of being able to handle all these polygons. Um, but yeah, check it out. They're not all to scale. The dragon is like some of these are to scale. Um, they might all be to scale. I don't think they're all to scale. But yeah, it's cool. And you can walk around in first person, get a feel for what they would look like if you were to encounter them in a video game, you know. But again, I didn't make these. The cool guy MZ on Shapeways is making the whole bestiary for 5e, and it's just so cool. There's a beholder. It's awesome. I love this stuff. Um, yeah, there's a gelatinous cube down there. You can tell because it's color. Again, color matters in terms of like your brain being able to quickly sort things, you know? Like I instantly picked out the gelatinous cube because it's colored, and then right here, that one's colored too. What's this guy? What is this guy? Gosh, I'm sure somebody knows exactly who this is. Well, it should be a G, right? There's a gas spore, gelatinous cube. What comes right after that? Anyway, um, yeah, it's so cool. Um, so yeah, again, this is part of that was just a cool thing I want to show you about understanding the bestiary and stuff. So I've been using AI art to make not just monsters though, but also to prototype textures and areas like I showed with Trobriand's Graveyard, that little attempt earlier. Um, and here's the dwarven, I call it dwarven stone, uh, an atlas that I compiled using. This is actually an AI called Lion AI. It's like a website. It's pretty cool. But yeah, you can generate, not prototype, concept. You're concepting. Yeah, you can concept this stuff really fast. Arched doors, stone filigree stuff, using words like Art Deco, Celtic, faceted. Um, it gets you a lot of really cool imagery that's just being generated on the fly. It takes like 15 seconds to generate like 6 of these. And it's so cool. So I kind of built my atlas, and I think I can use these to kind of build a better. I'm using them for the set pieces, and I'm also going to use them for the dungeon tiles as well. Um, and here's another part, the dwarven faces, and I'll talk about those in a second because it's really cool. But yeah, metalwork. these doorknobs, which incidentally I couldn't do with the Midjourney AI because the word knob is banned, which I found out. Yeah, I also was doing a Pioneer guy, and I wanted him to have a double-breasted buckskin coat, like a Pioneer would. But it said that, well, the word breasted is banned, so you better, be careful. I'm like, oh my God, I don't know what's me get in trouble for the word knob. Anyway, okay. But yeah, look how cool this stuff is though. It's so freaking cool. Yeah, again, like Celtic, Art Deco, Art Nouveau sometimes. This AI prompt engineering stuff has been a really great example for me of like learning why vocabulary matters. Like all the way back to Mrs. Byers' first grade class where we're like doing these like 18 words and like learning on them. Like, oh my God, I'm wasting my time. No, dude, if you're doing this stuff, it really does. Understanding what Celtic design looks like, what Art Deco means, what Art Nouveau means, like the difference between brass and bronze and all these things. And one that really adds a nice color is copper verdigris or verdigris, basically the green stuff that's on the Statue of Liberty. When copper gets old, it forms a patina of verdigris, and it just makes the whole thing stronger, but it looks green instead of copper, you know. But you add that to a prompt, and it makes these really cool colors for stuff. But yeah, so this is the Dwarven Atlas, and I've been going through the levels, starting up at the Citadel. I've been trying to get some layouts. Like I haven't found any actual maps of the Citadel of the Bloody Hand, but I've been trying to learn and figure it out and read what I can about it. So there's not much to that. The Waterdeep sewers. Um, it's so cool. That's kind of what I would imagine it would look like. You have the turquoise water and the orange walls and the kind of mossy algae covered walls, and just so cool. And again, these are all preliminary. Everything is, very rough and up to improvement. Um, um, yeah, and dwarven stuff I have here. Um, and columns. You got to get columns. You got to get pediments, which are like the triangle at the top of, some column arch things, like for the Parthenon or whatever. It's a pediment. And you got to get your capitals on top of the columns and stuff. There are different types of capitals. And again, learning this stuff, like learning these words and art, all this stuff really helps with the prompt engineering. Um, and the Sargoth level, like the Drow stuff, which is kind of like when I think of Drow in Eye of the Beholder, it's kind of this purple stone and it's kind of elegant. They are elves after all, even though they've been kind of turned mad by the darkness or whatever. Um, and so you have these columns that are kind of ornate, but of course the big inspiration is going to be spider stuff for the Drow, because spider's pretty important to Drow culture. Um, But yeah, so you have all of this stuff, just some playing around with trying to get a feel for the way the Sargoth level temples and all the Drow architecture is going to work. It's just exciting kind of getting to see these things kind of for the first time in a way that I can just share them with people, you know, by having this tool, this AI art tool, Midjourney in this case. See, look at that, it's so cool. And you have some chiseled stonework, and gosh, there was one that was really cool right here. Is it this one? No. See, even this, you type the stone that you want, like marble stone, but you type spider in there, and it makes it kind of spidery, just a little bit spidery, um, which is just so cool that it kind of blends and kind of like just figures it out for you. Um, Here's one that's just kind of getting a feel for. This was before I went to magenta, just when it was purple. And then part of the process too was realizing that Eye of the Beholder for Super Nintendo is very different from Eye of the Beholder for PC and DOS, because uh, because the DOS version it has a much bigger range of colors, I guess, um, and it's just more memory to store things. So you have less repeated, slightly recolored areas and stuff than you do on the Super Nintendo version that I grew up with. Um, yeah, so that's Drow. That's Drow designs. You can that spider stuff. You know, they're called bas reliefs. Um, it's like when it's just like sculptures that are just chiseled into the stone in the wall. And again, knowing that word makes it a lot easier to get stuff that looks really nice. That's Skullport. That's an attempt at Skullport. I just put in the text description from the book, and it kind of gave me this. And if you squint, you can kind of get a feel for maybe there's something there, but this is the only one I've tried of Skullport. It's going to go through a lot of iterations. There's already a lot of great artwork, official and fan made for Skullport, so I'm not going to have to do a lot of designing on my own, really, to get a really good looking Skullport. Um, and I'm excited to get to Skullport um, uh, because it's just such a cool place. And and this is when I was trying some willow wood stuff. That's as far as I've kind of gotten. Um, and this is just you know, it's cute. It's technically kind of correct in terms of, it's like a what is it, like a forest. Um, and it goes 100 feet high about, and then there's it's a cavern ceiling, but it's obscured by the fact that there is a magical spell that makes it look like you can see the stars the same as they would on the surface, you know. So that's kind of cool. But I'm going through a lot of, see, this doesn't feel, maybe for some parts, but you don't have to use every generation, even though it feels a shame not to, because it looks so nice. But you got to keep in mind, a person didn't make each one of these. It's just an AI. It doesn't care. It doesn't have an ego about it, you know. And there's a little doodle in a tree, little guy. Um, and there's some others, you know, some really, really cool, beautiful stuff, you know. But it's kind of a, what is it, a embarrassment of riches when you have all this stuff and it's like, this all looks amazing, but probably not going to use it, because it's just, because it doesn't look just right, you know. Um, this is pretty cool. This almost feels like it could be underground, you know. Let's see, but there was one that I was like, that's getting closer. This one is second best so far because you almost see some roots hanging down, like hanging down through the cavern ceiling or something. But this is the one where it looks like the stars are in the sky, but you also can kind of vaguely see the cavern ceiling above the forest as well. Like I think it's, like finding that balance to where it feels like you're in a forest, it's also magical, but you're also in a cave, and you really want to play that up, but while it being lore friendly. So finding that balance is challenging. But yeah, so that's the the AI artwork and the kind of concepting that I've been doing for the lower levels of Undermountain. Um, and so I think that's pretty much everything I wanted to show, except I can show you the actual game. Yeah, as it stands. So I've showed you that. I've showed you that. I've shown you that. Um, yeah. So let's switch over to the actual game, and I'll show you the state of the actual Project Underdeep game so far. It's still, really basic, but let me go in here. Let me see if I can do this. Where this is OBS. I'm new to all this stuff, but I figured this would be a more interesting way to show an update than just a silent video of just like a face or like a first-person view of just showing around. But so here we go. Let's see, game plus camera. There we go. All right. So here's level 1 of Undermountain, but this isn't actually it. This is just the map, and there's all the lights on it. I turn on my lantern here, you'll see that I'm actually standing right here at the pit at the. And this is really cool that I can basically copy the text into a SQL database and have it read from it at the right locations, depending on where these little markers are positioned and what their names are. And so this theoretically should be customizable as well. And that the goal with everything I do is for it to be customizable by the end user at some point. But I'm still very primitive in terms of game design, so I'm still working through all that. But yeah, so that's cool. So you're walking around here. So here's the map that I added in. I'm gonna turn that off. There we go. I'll place it in front of me. I never like the way that GPS mini maps feel in games because I'm like looking at it and I'm not experiencing the environment. I'm not learning the environment. When I do this, I'm just running through it like I'm a rat through a maze, trying to beeline toward things. It doesn't feel right to me. I don't like compasses in Skyrim. I don't like, when you go to a unique place, it's like here's some text of it's like where you've just discovered. I'm like, oh, it would have been nice to actually discover what the place is rather than being told by this big pop-up, you know. Um, so at first I had a little mini map in the corner here, um, but I changed. I think I can still activate it if I press L. There it is. Yeah, it's just an orthographic camera placed like 30 meters above me that shows this area, and it's kind of cool because it's really it's actually a camera. It's like a security camera because not technically a map because it's just looking down at you. But yeah, see, but like you could do this, and I don't like that. So and there's one where there's a mode where it doesn't actually orient with you. Um, but let's turn that off because this is so much better, I think, having an actual map in your hands. Um, so what happens is, wherever you are as you're exploring, um, you get to a safe spot, and you press M, and it shows up. And you can actually kind of get a feel for where you are using an actual map you're holding in your hands. So it's not overpowered and it's not optimized to the point of not being fun anymore, like a GPS system would be, to where like you're not experiencing it. It's not in a pause menu. You still have to be here experiencing this environment. You have to make sure you're safe, and I just feel like it's more immersive when you can do that. Um, Technically, the light of my lantern shows up on this map. There it is. It's right there in the corner, or right in the middle of the screen right now. See, it goes away, goes away. Since I've added all the lighting, though, it doesn't show up as much. Um, but yeah, like this is really rough lighting, and it's not even necessarily lore friendly. I'm just trying to just splash some color around, um, so I can kind of get a feel for it. These are baked light maps now. Um, but yeah, you can explore, and it's kind of cool. I'm Yeah, and now suddenly I don't have anything to say. But this is so cool. This is so cool walking around, exploring. You got your little lantern that flickers on and off. And a lot of this is code that I can take directly from my game, Not's game, and just dump in here, like the lantern flickering code, because I've already made it. I'm not actually a coder. I use Playmaker visual scripting, but now Bolt visual scripting is built right into Unity, so you don't have to know how to code. You just have to know the concepts of how variables and like if then statements and stuff work, and you can do all this stuff. It's no big deal. Just like using Blender, even though Blender has a huge learning curve. But now I can play it like a piano after like 5 years of practice, and I love doing it because 3D modeling is like you're creating like a little it's like you're figuring out where the pieces go and how to make it into a shape. And then at the end of it, you have a thing you made, and you can 3D print it if you want. You can share it online. It's awesome. It's so cool. It's like the coolest puzzle because you have a result and figuring out where every vertex goes and stuff. Anyway, so yeah, walking around here. All of the keys from Ruins of Undermountain 1 are in here, but I'm going to add the keys from um, every campaign that's relevant. Dungeons of the Mad Mage, Expedition to Undermountain, Return to Undermountain. Is that one? Um, but yeah, I'm gonna add all those in, and it should be pretty trivial to do that. Um, oh, dead end. Kind of dead end here. Here's another cool thing I added. This is just for fun. It's just for fun for now, But where is it? OPUI tab, of course. There we go. You have your stats. You can't see them because of my. Oh my God! Hold on. Can I actually fix this? Let's see what happens if I do this. Can I actually do this? Cam corner. I'm not going to be able to do this. I'm too much of a noob about this stuff. Okay, hold on. Cam. That's my cam. There's my Oculus Quest. Oh gosh, I'm not going to be able to do this. I'm going to be able to move my face. Hold on. Let's see. I'm going to go back to the game since I did I break it? I broke it. There it is. Okay, goodness. I'm not gonna mess with it now. The point is that those are your stats on the left side. Your charisma, wisdom, intelligence, constitution, dexterity, even hit points down at the bottom. And gosh, my other monitor's not working. What's the other stat after dexterity? Wisdom, right? Yeah. Intelligence. Gosh. Oh, okay. Anyway, it's up there. I can't see past it. Anyway, but yeah, it's so cool. And if you hit, was it IOP? Oh, it randomizes them. It's just kind of cool. I mean, it doesn't do anything, it doesn't mean anything now, but I'd like it to eventually mean something. Um, but yeah, so this is the current state of the project. Let me see if I can wander around here and show you some more of the, really basic lighting. I'm just going to go to a bunch of places, you know, and give you an idea. See, there's still dark areas. You can turn on your little lantern. This is pretty dark. There we go. Oh, got some stairs around here, and there's a you can use the scroll to be able to speed up and speed down. Um, Whenever this letter appears on the map, a curtain of darkness is found. And that's what I'm in the process of modeling right now, is getting the reference imagery and getting the text and stuff to actually make these kinds of things, set pieces like the curtains of darkness. Um, oh, and a bottomless pit, which is totally exists right now. Doesn't. But see, if you notice these simple textures, which I'm pretty sure are also AI generated that I made, um, um, they look a lot better when you have lighting. And you're not just this omniscient God floating over the whole place. Um, Gosh, I could never be a Let's player because I can't talk and play a game at the same time with any level of skill, and I'm right back here. Um, Gosh, I want to try to show you some of the different areas. You know what I can do? I can put up the map. So I guess now for now we'll just be going through here. Two filthy human-like creatures. You need to call them filthy. It's kind of rude, you know. Anyway, they're just chilling, you know. Anyway, okay. There's a little arch. Nice. And this again, I was just testing out different regions. Oh, and the thing I wanted to talk about earlier about the dwarf faces. Um, it's really easy to make a player get lost in an environment. It's really easy. Some of my earliest game maps were just giant mazes. Because I was like, oh, it's cool because you get lost and you have to be a savvy adventurer to figure out how to get. It was really boring. It was really miserable because everything looked the same, kind of like how this does now. It all looked the same, and it was very easy to just to not be able to find your way. But in real life, if I'm going for a kind of realism, in real life, you can learn your way around places using small details. The way the stones are made, the color of the stones, which different dwarf face is above the doors in that area is something that you could memorize potentially, and you could learn. Oh, I'm in this region. Oh, I'm in this region, and that's one of the things I want to do for my game. Oh, there we go. That's it. That we can escape and get out of here. I can learn how to turn gravity off before I. There we go. Um, is that different areas can look and feel different ways in a way that it diegetically makes you capable of learning how to get through them, and find your bearings. Um, and I think it's just a natural human thing that we can kind of orient ourselves using landmarks and stuff. And so that's why I've kind of used different texture sets to kind of delineate different regions of Undermountain Level 1 here. And of course, they're all going to actually look and feel kind of different, although they're still going to be within the kind of dwarven stone theme, unless I got that wrong and this isn't even a dwarf place. Um, but that way you can orient yourself. And here's the caverns to the south, which apparently there's a town in that I didn't know about, which is really cool. Tarnis, I think, uh, one of the community members actually made me aware that yeah, there's a whole. I think it's not Spiderhaven. It's not called Underhaven. Under? Oh, goodness. But yeah, it's so cool. And so if you know of any places like that, like any like different kind of areas that I might not get from some of the big campaign stuff, then let me know about it and I'll consider adding it because it would be pretty cool. Where am I? See, this is a failure of design when it's so dark that you can't even feel your way around. Because in real life, you could still feel your way around even if it was pitch black. And the sound that hits your ears in different ways would also help you orient yourself even in a totally dark area. So anytime, what's one of my rules for game design too is like anytime you're designing a dark area, never make it 100% dark because that's not realistic and it's not really fun. Um, a good example of how to do this well is Resident Evil 2 Remake because it has some areas that feel very dark, but you can still find your way around. You know how? Okay, now I'm gonna use the map. Where am I? Oh yeah, I'm down here, right there. So if I just keep going this way, I should find my way out. See, and this is just too dark. Um, this texture. But again, all of the stuff is very, very rough. So and it's all gonna very, very much change, which this is Yeah, and not being able to change the FOV doesn't help either. Now I've gone back the other way. I just want to get out of this cavern thing because this is not. See, it's not fun when you can't tell your way around. Look, now that looks cool, but that's like distant stuff, you know? Like you still want to be able to interact with what's right next to you. Okay, and it not be a miserable thing. So all this is going to change. All this is going to be refined. I'm just trying to get the layouts of the areas down right now. Um, how do I get out of here? There we go. Find something. A little cavern that's too small to actually crawl through because I didn't model it. Hold on. Am I too tall? Oh my God. I modeled it too small, this little passageway. Okay, so I'm gonna follow this wall. One of the things I want you to be able to do too is to drop items like breadcrumbs. Because again, it's easy for people to get lost in a game dungeon. Okay, when you design it in a way that people don't get lost, that's to me, I think that's uh, being a better designer. Um, because we have human skills to not get lost already built into us. Um, and a game can either amplify and make use of those skills, or a game can just like ruin your life and your universe. There we go. Is that a thing? Oh my god. Okay. Okay. Where am I? Okay. Okay. Right here. I follow this. I don't like how dark this is. Not at all. This is changing very, very soon. There we go. We're out. Oh my god. Oh my gosh. We're totally out of those caves now. Okay. Now we're back in the actual dungeon. See, all of a sudden it's a lot. Whoa, what was that? Here the walls are covered with scaly mold and eerie greenish-white phosphorescent growth that covers the wall, floor, and ceiling for a 40-foot long stretch of passage. This mold reaches moving, that's usually an apostrophe, uh, moving fingers, oh, that's what it is, toward anything that passes. It is harmless to all except insects, which it traps with sticky secretions and feeds upon. It can readily be burned away, creating white 30 ash and acrid smoke. White 30. I'm just see some this doesn't need to be proofread because copying it directly from the PDF sometimes has some weird character issues. Actually, just I copied into the Chrome like address bar, which gets rid of all the line breaks. And then I dump it back into the SQL database SQL, and and you get these little issues, but it's functional for now. Creating white 30 ash and acrid smoke, the passage grows noticeably colder as it turns south again. Okay, I ain't turning south again. Not ever again. Going back to that place. Yeah. So again, very rough, very simple right now. Um, adding in the set pieces will be a step, and then actually getting the proper texturing, you know, for each area, will be a huge thing as well. Um, yeah, it's so cool. So again, this doesn't. I'll say it a million times. This doesn't look how, you know, texture-wise, how it's going to look. I was just testing different textures and also using them to kind of delineate regions because I do want them to be a little bit different texture-wise, but not just like, you know, unlore friendly, you know, in terms of how different they are. I think we're pretty close to the entrance. You know, let's say we're trying to escape now. We're trying to get out, get back to is it Durnan? Have him lift us out for 1 gold. See if I can. Gosh, I'm right there, and there's the yawning portal right there. So I need to go left. We kind of go straight up through there, and then we'll get back to that chamber, the Pillar Forest chamber. Oh, turn on my light. All right, so I think I know. See, but I want you to have to do that. I want you to have to stop and do that, and be vulnerable and do that, rather than just looking at this GPS thing and just being like, bzz, bzz, you know, like being like a robot. It doesn't feel good in games when I have to do that. And like immersion for me is like the whole point to existing in the room. I want this to work on Oculus Quest. Quest 2. Um, and I'm making it pretty performant right now, well, because it's just like squares everywhere. Um, so it should work uh, on VR headsets. Um, there we go. Back to the forest of pillar. Okay, no gravity. There we go. I hand painted this one myself, this little tile texture. It's not bad. I love Dungeon Keeper as well, by the way, and it's one of my other big inspirations for how things feel. You know, Dungeon Keeper 1 and 2, they're unique in their own ways, but I love them both. Um, yeah. Two broad steps lead down into a widening room crowded with a forest of stone pillars. Archways can be seen in its northern, western, and southern walls. Something metallic glints on the floor among the many stone pillars. It would be so cool to put that there, that little glint. And what is it? You know? Um, there's so much that could happen with an app like this, with a tool like this for DMs and for players to kind of really be immersed, just to kind of taste. You know, I have no illusions that I'm going to be able to replace any actual real tools. You know, but I just think it's a fun little thing to be able to finally stand underneath the yawning portal, for example, 40 feet wide, 140 feet high, and then to actually get on the rope and go up there and hang out in the inn, which is already up there, but I haven't added it into the build yet. Um, it's really simplistic too, but yeah, I just think it's so cool. And this should be sand and have bones and sand, and that's all going to happen. It's all going to happen as I read you know, the little doodles, read the texts and kind of get a feel for what it should be like. It's just so cool. And actually, I've never actually played an Undermountain campaign. Um, uh, so this is a way for me to be able to experience these places as well, even though I've never actually played a campaign, and been there. And again, how visceral my brain is like I need to see it. I need to walk in it. I need to hear little footsteps when I go tick 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 tick, you know. So here I can. It's not up there, but I can pretend like I'm going up the rope by turning gravity off. Here we go. I'm gonna turn down the or my speed. Here we go, going up the rope, trying to escape from Undermountain. There's a spell here that prevents monsters from coming up, I heard, but also sometimes they still do. Um, so that's kind of cringe. Um, then here you go. You'd be up here, and here'd be the end, which of course right now I have the roof. It's like, yeah, as if it was one story. And it's like what, 1 foot high standing right here on the ledge, or 1 foot wide, and it's waist high. Um, so you could be right over here, standing down like this, looking in, throwing in beer or whatever, hanging out at the end of the yawning portal. Go over here, talk to Durnan, about his adventuring days, uh, in Undermountain. You get some info from, I don't know, all kinds of cool stuff that you can do with this. I'm all about immersion, so that's just really cool to me. Yeah, so I guess that's it for now. This is kind of my thought process and kind of what's going on here. I hope this video isn't too boring. If you've watched this far, I really appreciate it. Um, and I'm always wanting feedback. Leave it in the comments or in one of the Reddit threads that I posted about the project Ultradeep. Um, yeah, and I guess too, check out the Age of Singularity stuff if you ever see. I try to make a hashtag for each thing. So it's Age of Singularity is the Ultima project, Ultima 6 thing I'm doing. I've made the overworld, kind of a generic map, and I've made all the set pieces as you can see. And I have my bestiary lined up. And these are all steps toward making these kind of experiences, just fun, free fan experiences. So people can kind of get a feel for what the world's like, and I can get to share these environments that I am so attached to that I think are so cool in a way that other people can like get, even if they're not fans of Ultima or Dungeon Keeper or Dungeons Dragons or the Forgotten Realms. Um, but yeah, and there's this was it the Falling Stair or it's the one with a little surprise halfway up, and actually I can go over there real quick and show you what the surprise. I mean, it's simple geometry. If I don't tell you what it is, which I won't, you won't know. Let's see if I can pop into this. About halfway up the stairs, as you walk up the stairs, there's a log blocking the corridor. Crossways, or maybe it should be another direction, but it's not a log. It's not really a log. It's something a little different. But yeah, that's those stairs. Unneeded. Oh, great. I guess we don't need this. That was just a SQL entry that I need to fix. Um, there we go. The carved bearded face. The long dark stare. That's what it's called. Yeah. Anyway, okay, I could just do this for hours, even though it's like super simple, you know. Um, Adding in the keys suddenly makes it interesting, but adding in the set pieces that are actually doors that open, secret doors that open, which is the next thing I'm going to do, that's going to make it, it's going to start to feel like a real place. And again, this is just level one. I'm going to do every level. Um, Getting this far is relatively simple. Um, it's the custom modeling that is going to take more time, but it's really, really fun. And again, these are all assets that technically, like, as long as I'm not like making a beholder or something, these are all assets and textures and stuff that are technically mine that I've created. They're technically, even if I've used AI like Midjourney and stuff, which you do have commercial rights to the stuff you make, using that. Um, but so I can use this stuff for my own projects, and that's part of the adventure doing this. It's like a double whammy. I get to create these places that I want to explore and experience in first person in VR with other people, um, and I also get tools that I can use to create and tell my own stories, which is really exciting. Uh, it's why dungeon masters are so awesome because they're the storytellers, and you get to experience it. If you have a good party and you get DMs, you get to experience these places. And as a game developer, you're kind of a dungeon master, and it's not, it's exciting in its own way, but yeah, okay. I'm gonna stop this crap now. I'm gonna stop. Anyway, so this is Project Ultradeep. I'm Weston Tyler. If you watch this far, thank you for watching. This gives you an idea for what's going on. And yeah, I'm gonna end this video now. All right. Thanks for watching. Bye.